This evening, President Granger indicates willingness to send humanitarian aid to neighboring Venezuela. The Canadian government donates forensic equipment to aid in crime fighting. Ralph Ramkaran propounds the publishing of pardoned prisoners. He says it should not be a secret. The Ministry of Education aims to enhance the school's curriculum in Guyana. In the region, in St. Lucia, supporters and opposition alike anxiously await the release of new cabinet ministers. And internationally, fans watch funeral procession past Muhammad Ali's childhood home.
From Safetv headquarters in South Rampart Gardens, this is Safetv Headline News with Rihanna Hammond.
Headline News is now being streamed live on our YouTube channel, as well as our website, safetvguyana.com. Join us. President David Granger said he would provide humanitarian aid to Venezuela, but there is a big if behind it. The president made the announcement on his recent public interest show in response to a question by SafeTV2 Headline News reporter Andrew Weeks. Here's more.
Venezuela now faces an unprecedented crisis as never before seen in an oil-exporting country. They are reported to be plagued with sharply deteriorating public health, scarcity of food and basic goods, energy shortages, and widespread crime. In 2015, Venezuela is recorded as having experienced 4 times as many violent deaths than in Afghanistan. Yesterday, as my fellow colleague from the Guyana Chronicle and I sat down with President David Granger on the Public Interest Show, this reporter asked Mr. Granger if his government would provide humanitarian aid to Venezuela. President Granger said,
"We have not contemplated the possibility. Venezuela has not made a request to us, and I'm sure if they needed assistance and they asked our help, we would consider it."
The president, who was somewhat hesitant at first in answering the question, quickly adjusted to the idea of it and gave the following response.
But we mustn't exaggerate. We don't know the exact situation in that country. We know about newspaper reports. There are some shortages, but the Venezuelan economy is not on the point of collapse. There are shortages because of the inability to buy goods in the world market, particularly household goods, day-to-day requirements in homes, foodstuff and so on. But the country is not on the brink of collapse,
Since oil prices dropped, the government's ability to supply foreign currency has been virtually constricted. Without enough income from oil exports, the government has been unable to meet the demands of its financial obligation. They first attempted to issuing foreign debt, then by forcing banks to acquire domestic bonds, and finally by recurring to the last resource, the money printing process. This collapse is reflected in the expected contraction of Venezuela's GDP by 10% this year and in the scarcity of over 80% of basic goods. Goods available at inflated prices is the black market and are out of reach to all but a very few. Ironically, this chaos promoted by the government hurts the poor more than anyone else. Rihanna, it is alarming how a country endowed with so much wealth can so quickly succumb to the pressure of the world's economy. But as neighbors who have been snubbed and provoked over the past year, how neighborly should we be in the face of others' suffering? That's the question. Back to you, Rihanna.
Headline News has received information that Venezuela has denied the recent claims that their military shot at officials of the GGMC while traversing Guyana's waters. One wonders, if they did not, then who did? Thanks, Andrew. The Speaker of the National Assembly is receiving much criticism for not allowing questions to be asked about the pardoning of prisoners. This report will take you through some of the arguments. Are we to understand that the President will now continue to pardon prisoners twice a year for as long as he holds office and refuse to account to the Guyanese people? That was the question posed by former Speaker of the National Assembly, Ralph Ramkaran, via a recent post on his Conversation Tree blog. Although a harsh critic of the People's Progressive Party Civic, Ramkaran on this rare occasion supported the stance taken by the party to ask questions relating to the pardoning of prisoners. He wrote, "The public is entitled to know the criteria employed by the President. For example, they should be furnished with the names of the prisoners who have been released and the offenses for which they have been charged. This is not and should not be treated as confidential information or state secrets." Gail Teixeira, the PPP's chief whip, yesterday called a press conference to argue this same point.
The fact that the Speaker has denied the member to ask these questions is unacceptable. The right of the opposition to question in public interest is something that is almost sacrosanct. Rare have been the occasions in the last 24 years when the opposition MP's questions have been denied by any Speaker.
The standing orders, which are basically parliamentary guidelines, give the Speaker the right to disallow questioning, but only if the questions contradict one of the many rules of questioning. According to Ramkaran, the questions outlined by Member of Parliament Anil Nandlal in this regard did not go against any of the relevant standing orders, prompting this statement from Ramkaran. The Speaker was not required to and did not give any reasons for his ruling, but over the past 15 years, Speakers have sought to explain their rulings in order to demonstrate that their decisions were based on rational considerations. This effort was intended to limit allegations of bias. Shortly after the commencement of the 11th Parliament, the opposition accused the Speaker, the Honourable Barton Scotland, of being biased. The two parties convened a meeting to this effect, but clearly the issues have not been ironed out. Meanwhile, as it relates to the intention of President David Granger to speak with members of the judiciary regarding the sentencing of juveniles whom he says belong in schools as opposed to cells, the former presidential advisor had this to say.
That is outside of the mandate of any member of the executive. The President has to be very, very careful of how he treads in this area.
The Ministry of Education has set out to review the school's curriculum in a bid to enhance it. The review is being carried out with a strong focus on creating a more modern and well-rounded curriculum. This was disclosed by Minister of Education Dr. Rupert Rupnarayan in an interview with the Government Information Agency. Kingsley Bryan will tell you more in this report.
As earlier promised, the Ministry of Education has begun the review of the curriculum for schools in Guyana. In earlier engagements, the Minister relayed that several new features will be added to create a more well-rounded Guyanese student. Some of the previously mentioned inclusions are culture and sport. Education Minister Rupert Rupnarayan is also seeking to have included a program that builds the national pride of students.
I think, cultivate patriotic education children so that they come out of school with a feeling about Guyana, and I want to see much more of that in the school system.
While the review is still an ongoing process, the Minister noted that keen attention also had to be paid to the modernizing of the curriculum, since this was vital to the advancement of our school system.
I think that when I see the results of the curriculum review, we've had a look at how that curriculum is working and see what adjustments we need to make to bring the curriculum in line with what I can think of as modern developments, and especially in the area of ICT.
Minister Rupnarayan further insisted that education was a process which was constantly undergoing change. He further posited that in order for Guyana to advance in aspects of development, the local education system must be prepared to deal with these changes. Dr. Rupnarayan noted that the ministry was working to wrap up the process in a timely manner.
I would like to ensure that we get the curriculum review completed and the reforms that are needed within it within this year. I can't tell you what month of this year, but we're at work on it, and I'm hoping that by the end of this year we would be in a position to implement new proposals in relation to the curriculum.
Upon completing the review and reform process of the school's curriculum, the education system is expected to be revamped, especially in the areas of science and technology. Just last week, Minister Nicolette Henry highlighted that sports will be reintegrated into the school system. Rihanna?
Thanks, Kingsley. Coming up on Headline News after the break, records show a reduction in crime in Guyana, and Codex convenes workshop highlighting the necessity for food standards.
Everybody knows John Lewis Styles as the Levi's and Dockers store. But did you know we're also an authorized dealer for Nautica, Perry Ellis, US Polo, Natural Issue, Joffrey Bean, and many others. We also carry the Bruno and Drill brands, who are actually the makers of Express shirts, at half the price of Express. So the next time you think of men's clothing, shoes, and accessories, there's only one choice. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
With a distinctive flavor, Umda Palka ghee is made from 100% pure vegetable oil. This Palka ghee is a delight when preparing sweetmeats and other dishes for healthy cooking with a rich buttery taste and aroma. It is used for religious purposes and is a principal fuel for burning. Umda Palka ghee is light, pure, with a real ghee texture.
Know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. I am yours. I am yours. I know who I am. Oh, I know who I am. I know who I am. I am.
For the father that does everything, plus has to put up with you should get him only the best at Clarence. From the casual dad to the classic man, Clarence has everything. Sneakers, jeans, t-shirts, suits, shirts from 25 to 50% off, shoes, belts, wallets, shades, and colognes at great discounts in store.
This sale is for 2 days, June 17th and 18th.
Have a happy Father's Day when you shop at Clarence on Church Street. Clarence, for quality clothing at affordable prices, always keeping you in style.
Yesterday, the Canadian government presented the Guyana Police Force with forensic video analysis equipment and software packages under the Justice Education Society project. Andrew Weeks reports that it was the same equipment that was used in identifying the car which was involved in the Kaieteur News grenade incident.
Minister Ramjatan said the equipment will serve as a boost to the police force in crime fighting. This comment, however, seemed to have taken some by surprise.
Equipment which I say have come in so handy recently As a result of that, I think we're in a throwing incident, whereby we have managed through video analysis, which video analysis training came from JES and helped in the process of nabbing the number of people that we have now.
This training that the police officers received from the Canadians enhanced the ability of the GPF in fighting crime. In addition, it has also aided in the reduction of crime by 16%. Acting Police Commissioner Ram Narang lauded the good works the justice education system has done to boost the police force operations in the field.
Coupled with that is the fact that, I've said it before, that the current personnel in the CID are a bunch of dedicated. They're more academically qualified, they're dedicated, they're enthusiastic, and it seems to me it's very clear by now that pride in their work. And when you have pride in your work, there's a lot more care and attention that you will pay to it.
The program, which is being implemented by JCS, a Canadian NGO, and which was funded by the Canadian government through its anti-crime capacity building program, was highlighted by the Canadian Consular and Head of Development Cooperation Officer, Danielle Jolie.
Canada is celebrating 50 years of bilateral relations with Guyana, and on this occasion we'd like to say that we are growing together. And I think this is one of those instances that exemplifies this sentiment.
Minister Ramjitan also stated that this equipment will add to the CCTVs which the ministry has already considered for placement at hotspots area, thus reinforcing the technical support for solving traffic crimes, among others.
What has been happening in our court system is that the minute you charge a driver who then believes that the evidence will have to be given by a policeman or a witness, he immediately goes and pleads not guilty, I never drove recklessly. But since now we have started sending the video or a DVD to him, all pleading guilty.
Minister Ramjitan further stated that more cameras will be procured to assist the efforts of fighting crime, and these will be placed across the country in hotspot areas. He also assured the media and the public at large that the cameras will be better able to withstand the harsh climate. These new CCTV cameras are expected and be ready and functional in 6 months. Rihanna?
Thanks, Andrew. The Ghana Police Force in its recent releases noted the decrease in serious crimes in the country, but there is still the perception that this is not the case, since headlines reflect a different reality. President Granger says in his view, the figures of the GPF are indeed correct. Kingsley Bryan provides the details in this report.
In recent months, the Ghana Police Force has been reporting on the reduction in serious crime and providing figures to support their claim. But this has not been enough to deter naysayers who have been challenging these figures with great skepticism. President Granger in his most recent public interest hearing noted that he is not in agreement with this notion.
I don't think there's skepticism of the figures. As far as I'm concerned, the figures are correct. There's a perception that despite the figures, people would like to feel that crime is out of control.
President Granger said that he became aware of this floating idea after the attack on the Ramada Princess Hotel, and it was further incensed following the more recent piracy attack. In this regard, he called on the media to also be more responsible in their reportage. The head of state said more attention should be paid to the fact that more serious crimes were being solved.
What I'd like to emphasize is that more frequently than ever before, criminals are being arrested and brought to justice within a very short period after the commission of these offenses. So I think the rate of solving serious crimes has improved, and I think the police have to be complimented for that.
The president said that even though there was this growing perception, which has been fueled, no one has been able to disprove the figures. The president shared his perception of the situation.
So, in fact, the police have been strengthened. There are more patrols in the hinterland. There are more policemen on the street. Particularly during the period of the independence celebration, there's an operation called Operation Dragnet, And everyone knows that the celebrations were almost incident-free in terms of serious crimes. There were no attacks. I mean, there were usual pickpockets and so on.
President Granger stated that the police force is also increasing its patrol in some of the known troublesome areas, and this is aiding in the suppression of some of those very petty crimes. All in all, Rihanna, the president dismissed those naysayers and thanked the police force for a job well done, especially during the recently concluded celebrations.
Thanks, Kingsley. Codex, a body responsible for developing and maintaining guidelines, standards, and recommendations for food trade in countries all across the world, today convened a workshop here in Guyana. This report will tell you more. With the existence of foot and mouth and other zoonotic diseases, it is very important that countries involved in the food trade take the necessary precautions to ensure that substandard produce do not enter the markets, thereby putting humans at risks. Guyana has been part of worldwide bodies tasked with doing just that.
The importance of the work of Guyana's NCC is not lost on the government and its partners in international development.
That was Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder, addressing those gathered at a one-day Codex Cooperation Project workshop earlier this morning. He explained during his feature address that the body consists of over 188 member countries. Despite being a member of Codex since the 70s, the local Codex body was only resuscitated in March 2014.
The Codex Alimentarius, or Food Code, was established by FAO and the World Health Organization in 1963 to develop harmonized international food standards, which protect consumer health and promote fair practices in food trade.
Holder pointed out that while Guyana has already successfully modernized all of its agricultural health laws, much more needs to be done.
It is imperative that Guyana adopt a scientific and technological approach in transforming the agricultural development trajectory. As we continue to push for greater interagency partnership through engagement with our stakeholders in advancing science-based food standards, which will help to further protect the health of consumers and ensure fair practices in the food trade.
This is where today's workshop comes into play.
Agriculture in Guyana is replete with opportunities, and as such we must view agriculture as a profitable business rather than purely for subsistence.
Still ahead, our regional and international news.
Women's fashion trends change every day. That's why John Lewis Styles makes it their duty to source items directly from the manufacturing brand, offering you more choices and better prices. Women love to look great, whether it's for work or play. From clothing, shoes, accessories, to handbags, watches, fragrances. Let's make you feel like the only girl in the world. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
With a distinctive flavor, Paukagi is made from 100% pure vegetable oil. This Paukagi is a delight when preparing sweetmeats and other dishes for healthy cooking with a rich buttery taste and aroma. It is used for religious purposes and is a principal fuel for burning. Paukagi is light, pure, with a real ghee texture.
Place is really hot. What's wrong with your AC?
It's not working.
Well, we wouldn't be able to continue this meeting anymore because this place is extremely hot.
Wait, please don't go.
Here's a company you can call to get your AC fixed. Action Cool.
Honey, what's for dinner? I had a hard day. I'm sorry you have a hard day, but guess what, babes? I didn't cook today because the stove is not working.
Having trouble at home or at the office? Then call the professionals at Action Cool. Our fully trained technical team have the skills and experience in repairs of all air-conditioned units, refrigerators, gas stoves, washing machines, and a whole lot more. For further information, visit us at 86 Hill and Princess Street, Mandela Avenue, Georgetown, or call us on telephone number 225-7867.
Sometimes there's just too much information to keep up with when you're pregnant. What you should and should not eat, what kind of exercise is right for you, how to handle mood changes, even how to determine when it's time for delivery.
Don't let your pregnancy be a burden. Watch The Baby Story on Safetv Channel 2 every weekday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now you can know all you need to know from conception to delivery when you watch The Baby Story on Safetv Channel 2.
In news from the region now, in St. Lucia, anxiety is mounting as new Prime Minister Alan Chastney decides on his cabinet ministers. At least one businessman is very anxious to see whether the incoming government can keep its promise to reduce VAT, among others, and succeed where the previous government failed. DBS News' Jenna Ann Gaston has that story.
According to local businessman Everestus Jamari, the 2016 elections were not only interesting but intriguing. Jamari is amongst those who believe a clear message has been sent by the people of St. Lucia about how they feel and what issues are important to them, issues like job creation. The unemployment situation has put a strain on many St. Lucian households, undoubtedly being a strong deciding factor on how people voted on Monday.
And being unemployed as a young person for any extended period of time can bring about disillusionment. Not to mention, it adds to the challenges of families. And I think that was very much at the center of what we were seeing today. But let me say as a word of caution that government cannot create the jobs on its own to address that youth unemployment issue. What it can do is to create the enabling environment for the private sector to invest and to create those jobs. So I'm hoping that with the change of government, you will see an increase in business confidence, an increase in business investment, and bring about the jobs.
Jamari would like to see who will make up the new cabinet of ministers and if Prime Minister Alan Chastney sticks to his word by reducing or removing the VAT and vehicle taxes as soon as possible.
Well, like anything else, his first agenda was to make sure that he has the right team of people to form his cabinet and to go in there and get a sense of what the finances of the country are and begin to address some of those promises that he made, especially the one which regards to VAT and its reduction. I thought that's something that he needed to do. The reduction of vehicle licenses. These are things you probably can do by the stroke of a pen. So I would have thought as early gains, these are like low-hanging fruits, I would imagine, because it doesn't take much to do these things, and he may want to do that. But he needs to assess the finances of the country and decide what is realistic and what isn't.
For the DBS News World, I am Jenna Ann Gaston.
And internationally, fans lined the streets and wave as the funeral procession for Muhammad Ali passed by the boxing legend's childhood home in Louisville. Here's more in this special highlight from ABC News.
Face like this, spread apart. Face like this, spread apart. Yeah.
got to lift from the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Slowly walking to the center. You got to lift from the bottom. Slow down. No hurry. What do you want? All right, gentlemen, if you would move to your cars, please.
We came to pay honor to the family, to Muhammad Ali and his family, and just to represent some of the Louisvillians that really appreciate him and his family and his contribution to our city.
Well, we came all the way from Georgia. Just to be a part of history. I want my son to be a part of this history. He's 32. I grew up watching Muhammad Ali. He didn't. So I wanted him to be a part of this history.
He put Louisville on the map. He did a whole lot of great things for Louisville, and people know Louisville now from him being from Louisville and him being going all around the world.
And that's Safetv 2 Headline News for this Friday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to find Safetv 2 Headline News on Facebook, YouTube, and safetvguyana.com. You can also tune in on Sunday evening at 6:30 for a rebroadcast, and again on Monday evening at 7 o'clock for more news. I'm Rihanna Ahmed signing out from this newscast. Do have a blessed weekend.